Woo, it's Wednesday. It's May 1st. I'm so glad
Yay.
look, I love May for so many reasons, but you know what? We're about to get this chat started. Are you ready for some girl chats or some
Ah,
cocktails and conversation, actually?
cocktails and conversation. Let's do it.
All righty.
Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? With your host, the unapologetic diva, Dr. G, the girlfriend therapist, Dr. Cortina Lewis, and the networking extraordinaire, Diana Richardson Philippus. Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? This is Herspiration Happy Hour.
Look,
Hey,
hey. You know what? This is Happy Wednesday once again. This is your unapologetic diva, Dr. G.
and this is your networking extraordinaire, Diana Richardson Philippus.
And Dr. Lewis will be joining us kind of a little bit late. She's on a very important call, but our resident mental health person is going to definitely check in today.
Oh yeah.
How has your week been on your weekend? Because we cross over from a Wednesday to a Wednesday.
I know. My weekend was good. It was good. It was a little laid back. Or was it? Hold on. I don't even remember what I did Saturday. That's I
You know
don't
what?
even remember. I don't think I did too much. I don't think I did too much.
I don't. You know what? Now you're like me. This is how you know that time goes by way too quick because what the hell did we do this weekend? I don't really think, you know what, we relaxed this weekend. And I know we relaxed because the finals have been on and we have been outside. The weather has been beautiful. We sat outside, we put the television out back on the deck, had some drinks, just kind of low keyed it. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
really think we went out very much. God dang it. I
Yeah,
know
we
we
didn't
went
go
in
out at
there.
all. He was locked and loaded with them games, honey. Okay. He did his Mr. Bob landscaping this weekend on our home, front and back, and then he brought it on in and was watching the game. And I don't remember
Yeah.
what I did.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's
you know
the
what?
game. It'll come back to me eventually, but right now I'm just like
Yeah, it's like
run-
whatever. And so, you know what, our resident mental health person and cocktail maker is not here. So I'm just going to keep it real simple, because we're having mindful margaritas today. So of course, the drink of the day will be margaritas. And there's a ton of them you can get a recipe for, because I don't really, I don't make drinks. I just drink them.
that part.
These are so I won't say basic because there's so many different kinds that you can have. What is your favorite margarita?
My favorite margarita would be the one that I personally make myself, which is my frozen slushy strawberry margarita. And you know what? Let me just get into it because this will be my first time telling you how to make a drink. So bear with me, people, but it's real simple, okay? You're going to go to the liquor store. You're going to get you some Jose Cuervo Gold. Yes, the Gold Especial is my favorite. You're going to get the little Don Julio mix. They have the little mixes that come in the bottle at the liquor stores. And I like the yellow regular. And my favorite is the strawberry. So get the strawberry if you so choose to do the strawberry. And you can do the same for what I'm getting ready to tell you with the regular. So get you a blender, fill it up about halfway with some ice. You are going to pour, I'm heavy handed with mine. And depending on how many you're making, I would say fill it up at least halfway with the tequila and then the rest with the strawberry mix. Slap the lid on, press crush for a couple seconds, pour it in your glass, put a straw in. If you like salt or sugar, you really won't need it though. Put a straw and cheers. Matter of fact, why didn't I make that today? It's like 85 degrees here in Atlanta. Like it done jumped to summer once again. Today is really a frozen margarita type of day. It truly
Well,
is.
Well, we have Cinco de Mayo coming up this weekend. So
Is that this weekend?
it's this weekend. Yes, ma'am. That is this weekend. By the way, let me tell you, my favorite margarita
Mm.
is jalapeno. I love a good jalapeno margarita.
Never tried that one before. I'm not really big on hot. I can't imagine. Is it really spicy?
Depends. So when I go and have mine made, I'm a spicy girl. I think that's the Mexican chica in me. So
Mhm.
I'm a spicy girl. I love hot stuff. I like spicy things. So for me, they'll say how ask me how spicy I want it. So there's some that because Jay is not a spicy drinking person. He don't really like much hot spicy stuff anyhow, but I do. So I always kind of tell them make mine a little more spicy where they muddle the
Mm.
jalapenos as opposed to just drop the jalapenos in. I have actually cut up jalapenos before and dropped them in a bottle of vodka and just let it sit, or dropped it in a bottle of tequila and let it
Mm.
sit. The longer you let it sit in the fridge and just kind of marinate a little bit, oh,
Yeah,
can be as spicy as you want it. And I like to add pineapple with it. So a good pineapple jalapeno margarita is actually even better.
never tried that before. I'll be
Try
willing to sip a little bit and try it. I'll be willing to sit and
it.
try.
Yes, you need
I
to.
might
We're
try
gonna
it this weekend, being as though it's Cinco de Mayo, which means I'm gonna get turned up.
you know what? So we are here in our community. We're having a block party this weekend. It's a farewell one of our neighbors, provided weather contingent, of course.
Mm.
And we titled it Tacos and Tequila. So
Mm.
I'm going to be making homemade pico, and I even put shrimp in it. And then
Mm.
I'm going to make steak fajitas.
Sounds good to me.
I love to cook, so
Yeah, you do. I'm like, maybe me and Miss don't need to hop on a flight with the children.
come on,
Bring the
come
children
come
and have
on.
a good time.
I
Mm-mm.
know. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I feel like I'm enjoying more things at home lately. I feel like so much craziness is going on out
Yeah,
there that
yes.
I'm like,
Yeah,
we
it is.
live in the city, so well, right outside the city, but we go into the city to do stuff, and every time I turn around, there's some young teenager or young adult that does not know how to act. So I kind of like the solitude and the peace and the quietness of having and hosting things at my home. So
Tell me about it. My cousin, she's always like, "Yeah, let's go." There's this spot up here. Now, I don't really party like that. Like my idea of partying is pretty much going out of town. But traveling, going somewhere, and if not, then I'm here in the house. But there's this one location not too far from me, and it's supposed to be like really, you know. And in my heart, I'd be like, or in my mind rather, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. But then I'd be like, I don't know, because these youngsters, and no disrespect to the youngsters, I guess that's telling my age right now, even calling them youngsters, child, but I can't kick it with the kids. I can't kick it with the kids. They don't know how to act. I mean, I imagine when we were young, I guess our elders was probably saying the same thing about us, like we can't party with y'all, but it's dangerous out here.
no, it's different from when we were partying. I mean, let's be real, it is very different. I think that which kind of segues into our topic. I feel like all of the hormones and stuff that's been pumped in food has made our children twice as aggressive. I think
Mhm.
that there's not a sufficient outlet for them to get those, some of those emotions out. I think there's a lot of suppressed emotions. I think that social media has lended a hand to a poor mental health or mental wellness place, and it's almost as if like, what do you do about it? And some of them say I can't afford it. There's just a lot of things or a lot of excuses that people do give for not choosing to go to therapy to address some of the major or significant issues that they have in their life.
Absolutely. I would have to agree. I can remember, even being a child with my mom, because she had went through, some domestic abuse and things that have kind of fractured our our family, like she was taking us to therapy back then, like we were going to family therapy. So I was always very open to receiving therapy, from a very early age. I mean, even in my 20s, when I found myself battling with, anxiety, which I still have today. Fun fact about me, hey, I got anxiety, y'all. It's not fun, but anyway. um but I found myself very early on utilizing those services in order to help myself, because you just have to really be honest with yourself. We can tell you all day long that, there's nothing wrong with, going to therapy, getting an outside person, outside view, unbiased. But at the end of the day, you're going to need to make that decision. And what I can definitely say, even sitting here before you, as a 48-year-old woman, that therapy today still is very impactful for me. It truly does help, but you have to be in a space where you are ready to receive and to get the help that you need, and recognizing that you do need that help.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so funny because you and I were having a deep conversation
Yeah,
before
we were.
before we came live, and just surrounding, just between domestic violence and mental health, and the fact that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Is getting warmer. We are, then the other part that we come out of is a lot of people have seasonal depression. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're coming out of this whole winter time, and to me, especially if you lived up north, we've been having like, it's been winter, it's been spring, it's been fall. It's warm during the day, then it gets so cold at night, or the very next day is just really chilly. It,
Mm.
those moments kind of do impact your mental wellness, and so we have to be very cognizant about, listening to our bodies. And I was sharing with Diana that I learned very early on, about having functional depression years ago. I used to say I was driven. So I was so driven career wise, that was it. But I never really focused on me.
Mm.
I used work as an outlet to not have to deal with my personal life or deal with the things that I had trauma with from when I was a teenager or younger. And that really affected how I handled my relationships. It affected the energy that I was drawing in, and I really didn't notice it until I was in my 30s. But I will also say this: I've always been a believer in therapy because that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, and I was a domestic violence program educator, I was literally educating people on domestic violence, only to have become a victim myself.
Mm.
And then, and here I am, just like, never woe is me. I just took it and was like, you know what, my career, my education. So with every, with the end of every relationship, I got a degree. So it
Right.
was like low key, I really did.
Right.
And but after I really had an opportunity to really go to therapists and find the right therapy. So a lot of people have, what I experienced was very terrible therapeutic sessions that I
Mm.
didn't mesh
Been
with my.
there. Had that.
Exactly. And I found myself in several therapists or therapeutic chairs with therapists, lying to them, not even being honest,
Wow.
because I
I can't
felt.
say I've never lied,
Oh yeah,
but
I've
uh,
told truths, but I've lied a lot just to kind of, because I felt judged. I felt like
mhm.
there was a energy that was I wasn't connecting to. But when I did find the right therapist, I laid it all out on the line. I mean,
Yeah.
100%. I peeled back lots of layers and got to know and understand who I was, how I ticked, what made me tick. But
Right.
it was when I slowed down to actually deal with me and not put work before me, because we are so good at that. And
Absolutely.
that might not make sense to some women or even some men, but I put everything. My life was work. So if you ask me anything, it was always work. When I do interviews now, when they say, tell me about yourself, I talk about my personal and who I am as an individual that is outside of work, because I
Right.
stopped being work in academics. you know,
Yes.
and that meant something. So I shared that to say that, you know, when you stop to actually deal with you,
Mm,
it's probably the most unpleasant feeling. And when you are so open and honest about who you are to a therapist, you'd
yeah.
be amazed at the level of authenticity you walk out with. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
slow. It's slow. It doesn't happen overnight. I was
It
literally
surely
peeling
doesn't.
back layers for almost a year. But
Yeah.
I got to this place where unapologetically I can be myself. I can advocate for myself. I don't do what I just don't want to do. I
Mm,
speak up for me. And sometimes people don't like that. But you know what? When you choose you, it's like, okay. And I
I
choose.
think that's so important. One, we should always put ourselves first. I know that I used to struggle in particular with putting, family. Then when I got married, or let me just stop lying, even before we got married, okay, because we was already living together. We were already husband and wife before we sealed the deal. You know what I'm saying? So always found myself putting everybody before me and sacrificing even when I didn't want to, right? So I
Yeah.
would sacrifice just things that I didn't want to do, or feeling guilty for maybe being tired, not wanting to cook. It's the simple things sometimes, that you don't really have to, and I had to get to a point within myself through therapy. I learned that I was people pleasing.
Oh yeah.
I was a people pleaser. And another fun fact, I still go back and forth between, I catch myself now like, whoa, 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 hold up. Mm-mm. We not pedaling backwards, okay, Diana? We're continue to go forward. And a lot of times I think that when you get to that point when you have identified that you are a people pleaser, because I feel like that's a real thing that a lot of people
Mhm.
deal with. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday who she's in therapy, ironically, and she was telling me how she's a people pleaser, and that's something that she struggles with still, and that she's working on. But and I lost my train of thought where I was going with it. Dang it. But anyway, being a people pleaser is a real thing, and it's bad for you. And I knew where I was going. And a lot when you start saying no, people that you're saying no to that are so used to you always saying yes, 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 they're going to think that you're selfish.
Mm.
And guess what, my friends? Sometimes it's okay to be selfish for you. You have to be okay with being like, okay, I'll be that. How Red Man used to say, I'll be that. I'll be that. I'll be that. That will be playing in my mind when I started this journey. Like, just saying, hear that Red Man song, I'll be that. Because it's self-preservation.
Mhm.
And if you don't know how to self-preserve, you are going to fizzle on out and then find yourself in the bed, depressed, and just completely burnt out. So my friends, use the power of no, and
Yeah.
know that it's okay to say no.
Yes. And I'll also piggyback on that and say use the power of I.
Mm,
I'm important. I choose me. I don't feel like it, and be okay, because that's how you really get to you get comfortable with the power of no when you understand the power of I. I put myself first. I put
absolutely.
my energy first. I put my peace first.
Oh, because people will drain you dry.
Oh, girl,
They
understatement.
will they will drain you dry, and then when you don't have nothing else to give, they fine.
Oh yeah.
They not even worried about you.
Yeah. As they
Like, you
say,
really got to look at stuff. So like, really,
yeah.
I challenge people to really look at the dynamics of things sometimes with the people. And if you have these types of people, ongoings in your life, because everybody may not have this situation, but I feel like a lot of people do. But people are just, you give. Then when you're completely tapped out in the bed, can't move, they on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So
All
be mindful of that. It's a hard. That's a hard one because but I've gotten so good at it. I mean, I ain't gonna say my poor husband because he'd be all right. Because when the biggest one for us in this household is me cooking.
Ah,
And I know that you cook every day. However, I do not.
well,
Mm,
I
you
cook
don't want
almost
to?
I cook almost every day, but so I have two people in here. I have to, well, technically three, me, because I have to cook too.
Hmm.
Hey, Dr. Lewis is in the house. So
Hey.
I cook for three people in here. So I have to cook sometimes because yes, y'all, I cook for my dog. So so sometimes I'm up in the morning and I'll cook his food for the day. And then I'm prepping dinner. But like tonight, I didn't take anything out because I
Good
did
for
cook
you.
last night. I did well.
I'm
I
proud.
had a long day. I had a long day, and and then he wasn't coming home until late. And I said, well, okay, you'll probably eat while you're out. I ate leftovers. I made steak and gravy with rice, and I don't know, remember what the side was yesterday, but that's what I cooked. What's going on, Dr. Lewis? How was your meeting?
It was good. It was good. It was a presenting IABAS, International Board of Sexuality Professionals, to a um, therapy clinic and other individuals who are interested in getting certified and things like that. So it was really good. It was very informative for the individuals and, to get certified or to not get certified and all of the questions in between. So,
Absolutely. All
mhm.
right now.
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, come on and jump in on this topic we got going on. Well, me and Pam, it's mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Advocacy.
Mental Health Awareness Month.
So
Yes.
Yes.
we have gone into the topic talking about people pleasing
Mhm.
And
and
I
how
talked about functional depression. That was
functional depression, me
people.
people pleasing, and finally getting to a point, even though I'm still, I have moments, but really getting to a point where it's okay for me to say no and to put myself first.
You know where people pleasing part of it comes from? Not feeling like we were enough when we were children, trying to please parents and get their approval and to for
Shit.
them to be able to say, oh yeah, or it never being enough, right? So I got to do more. I got to do more. Maybe if I do this, they'll like me. Or even trying to fit into friendship circles, right? Maybe if
Mm,
I do all the things or
mm,
show up to all the
mhm.
events and everything. And I'm not even talking about as an adult, but as a child and feeling that sense of rejection or not
Yeah.
being included causes us to want to put more energy into doing more. And so part of that, you become an adult and you still are in the same mindset of, well, I have to do it. I don't necessarily, and I don't think as adults we actually see it as we are not wanting people to be mad at us. But
Yeah.
when you get down to the bare bones of it,
Hmm.
there is an undercurrent of I do all this because I don't want to let people down. And it shows up as people pleasing because if we really didn't give a damn, we wouldn't do it.
That part. That part. I wholeheartedly agree. I know that in childhood, because of all the different traumas that I had going on in my household, I was teased a lot and bullied because of certain things. So I do agree and have uncovered that that was a big part of that, with people pleasing or feeling rejected from or excluded from different things. That even went on into like when I was in college, and I had my friends, but I'm about to go on a whole tangent, but let me just say this. It's okay not to fit in with everybody because sometimes God got something else for you. It took me a while to realize that I wasn't supposed to fit in with everybody. I,
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to. And I'm so thankful that I didn't. And that could be a whole nother conversation, but I'm gonna let you go ahead. Where my fan at? I done got hot. Ooh, child, I started getting flustered. Where my fan at?
So what's so odd and this is something that we was talking about like childhood things. So here's something that I found out when I was in therapy. So even though I don't know if I would say people please, but I did to a certain extent, but mine was never for, yeah, needing to be friends. I never cared whether I have friends or not. I would drop friends in a heartbeat. I rotated through friends. And it wasn't that, to me, it's like I don't have to have a whole lot of friends. I had my sisters. I had hung out with laid up under my mom growing up. And so for me, though, I never fit in. And I didn't know where I fit in, but I also, part of me knew that I loved who I was. But then, of course, I always say the world has a way of breaking children because you don't fit in. And so I think it's a matter of being strong enough. So for me, headstrong, I was so headstrong. I was a fighter. You was not bullying me. I was short, but I was super feisty. I was very girly because I remember, carrying a purse, but it had rocks in it because I was not to be played with. I was not to be played with. Okay.
I didn't start fighting until I was in the 6th grade. It took me a minute.
Oh.
It took me, my mom, child, one day I came home crying. My mom was like, now look, this is how this is getting ready to go. Either you going to get your ass out there and handle business, or me and you going to have a problem. Child was crying, snotting up. I got on out there, though. So I guess I'm fighting now. I guess I got to fight.
I mean, so growing up, my mom always said, don't hit anybody younger than you, blah, blah, blah. And so just let me know. If the parent don't do anything, my mother said, next time, whoop their ass. And guess what? It's exactly what I did. I was telling, my dad was here for the weekend. That's another thing. So I did have stuff.
Happy birthday to him.
I know.
Yeah, thank you. My dad was here for the weekend, and he was telling, sharing stories about my childhood with Jay. So I was the boy my dad never had. I was the runner. And so for me, I had OCD. I had the cleanest room in the house. I would iron my sheets and then sleep on the floor. It's terrible. Yeah, it's awful. But I was also mean to a fault. And I think part of me just not tolerating a lot of things because you wasn't going to pick on me. I was not that kind of child. And during the summer months, I spent my summers in DC. After I was 5, I spent my summers in DC with all male cousins. It was either you get your ass whooped or you fight back.
Yeah.
I was fighting back. And eventually there was not none of them that was about to whoop my ass. So it bled over when you go down south and go to school. I didn't tolerate stuff from my cousins in the hood. I was not tolerating people in the country.
No, that's right.
Yeah. So, but as an adult, it clicks eventually that, there's still something wrong with that. It really does. But that I always talk about my gift of goodbye. Part of that I realized comes from my childhood because I've never really felt like I had to have friends. I can cut you off and not have any qualms about it. I can be in the same space with you and you cannot exist to me. I can act like you not know me, and it takes no effort or no energy to do it. And I don't feel like that's kind of healthy, but I feel like it's healthy.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. I wasn't able to work through like people pleasing until like I was in my adulthood. I always put everybody before me. My mom always tells me stories like, you know what? You used to give away all your toys and be like, oh, my mom can get me more. Here, you can have my stuff. I was always friendly and a giver. That was just my personality. Even the girls in the neighborhood. And I wouldn't even call it a fight, but I've only been in one fight in my entire life. I hate fighting. This is a story that anybody who went to Dwyer High School who knows about it. 2 friends was about to, not really friends. They didn't like each other, but I'm not going to say she was a friend, but she was an acquaintance. And one of my very close friends, they ended up not fighting because I started crying. And I was like, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just like, I was very, very sensitive to stuff like that. I never understood why people had to fight. I never understood why you could not just, and this is high school, talk out your differences. Like why we just can't have a conversation. And that was so prophetic because I ended up being a therapist. I just could not understand it. So they like fighting and they stopping like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm not even a part of the fight. I'm not even in the fight.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm just like, why are we doing this? Chaos like that was just never a part of my life. Even when people would bother, like nobody really bothered me. I will say it was a girl. She did not really like me, and she would taunt me and stuff. And I think I would be very afraid because I would have visions of me throwing her off the balcony. And so I was always like, I'm either going to be like into myself. I don't want to get in a fight with somebody because I don't know what might happen. Right. And so I always stay just very level headed. Don't just talk about it, but it took me until I was an adult to get out of the people pleasing and wanting and caring if people liked me. And it became challenging at jobs because sometimes when you're the only and it's hard for people to understand you, or they think that you are intimidating. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm just being me. I'm not even doing anything that's intimidating you.
Girl,
I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. And and especially when people don't look like you. And when you are surrounded and you are in spaces where you feel like an outcast, now people are retaliating against you or saying things that aren't necessarily true. And so trying to work through people pleasing and not leaning in or giving in or changing who you are or code switching because you don't want to be the angry, aggressive one when you're not.
Well, but in all actuality, they're often aggressive angry.
Yeah.
But as soon as you say something, then you're automatically targeted as the angry Black woman at the job.
So working through that and having to be like, getting to a place I call it emotional maturity, to a place where it's like, I'm not going to, that's your issue. That's not mine. And so I'm not going to change me to make you comfortable, or I'm not going to let what you think overrule. And this is with friendships or family or whoever, my peace and what is in my own best interest. I can't love you more than I love myself.
That's right.
And we was talking about just saying no. Yeah, we was talking about, the power of no. And I talked about the power of I love my peace. I'm not going to let anybody disturb it. I choose me first. It's about me first, and then everything's secondary. Well, God, of course, but you know what I'm saying. But I think that, for me in high school, I remember I only fought one time in high school. I only took one fight, but she was calling my house, actually called my house. My dad answered the phone and she told him, don't let your daughter come to school tomorrow. Ooh. And my dad said, you go to school and you whoop her ass. So I put 2 cornrows in my hair and went to school. And it wasn't that I was like, okay, if she really was going to bring it, she was going to get it. Mm-hmm. And she walked past me and she saw me and she shook her head like, yeah, you came here. So I was never one of those people that talk, just not going to do it. So when break happened, I told my teacher before break, I said, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Walked out the classroom. I did. She walked past and she saw me at break and she started walking towards me, popping off at the mouth. And I didn't say nothing. I waited till she got close enough and I grabbed her by the front. They couldn't get me off of her. They had my whole entire body off the ground, but I wouldn't let her go.
Good for you.
And all you can hear was my name on the intercom being called. Oh, I go into the office. Guess who's sitting there already?
Your dad.
My daddy.
He already knew. Oh,
and then they had to call my mother to come get both of us.
Not come get both of you.
He was about to fight the principal because the principal felt like I should not have defended myself. And he said, so you mean to tell me if this girl walked up to my daughter and bust her upside the head with a bottle, she shouldn't defend herself? And she said, no, she should come and tell somebody at the office. And he said, that's not how I'm supposed to be raised. And she was like, well, you need to take her out of this school. And he was like, fuck your school. And it was a lot going on. But my mom had to mediate a lot of things that, but yeah, it was.
Well,
But I already had a reputation too. She just tried the wrong one. Like my sister they was talking about some girls who was going to jump my sister when she was in middle school. And I was at a fair. You know how the little national fairs come around. I was at the fair with some friends, and some of her friends ran up, found me, and was like, "Oh, there's some girls that's going to jump your sister at the dance." I was like, "Oh, really?" So let me go up here to this dance real quick. I had to let her know you so much breathe wrong on my sister. The way that I would take you out, your family out, and everybody else.
Not the family.
Not the family.
I'm telling you, I was so mean to a fault.
Girl,
I was one. I'm telling you, I was. But you know what? But here's the thing: where did I spend every summer? With thugs in DC, down the alley. So my mentality was that, you wasn't gonna mess with me. You wasn't gonna mess with my family, my sisters. I just did not tolerate disrespect. You was not. My sister is the sweetest. Y'all know Robin. She's the sweetest.
Yes.
And what you wasn't gonna do over a boy? You talking about you and your friends about to jump my sister over a boy? Even when I was in high school, and that day I went down to the campus at the old middle school I went to, and as soon as they saw me, oh my God, Pam's on campus. Pam, I was like, I'm just here to get my sister. I'm not here to fight anybody. But every teacher remembered me for sure. I done had my ways with some teachers too. And it's not that I'm proud of it, but that's just who I was. I've been
you
very
was up there fighting the teachers.
No, but I was not respectful if they weren't respectful to me. And my mom, who had my mom always told us never tell a lie. That was the number one rule in the house. Don't tell a lie. She had to eat that when she got to the school, because she kept telling me to apologize. And I said, you always told us if we don't not to tell a lie. So I'm not apologizing because I am not sorry. And she just looked back and she said, well, I guess she's gonna take these days. Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to start lying to pacify you. I'm just not going to do it. And so I look back at certain things in my childhood that's made me who I am today. I've always been a very strong woman, but it took a lot to learn who I was personally, because I felt like I had so many defenses up, but I was always an overachiever. I always did a lot, and I always put things, track, swimming, softball, cheerleading, everything was over. So I was accustomed to putting those things in front of me. And so when I started therapy with a good therapist, she helped me recognize that as a child, that was how I coped. That's how I coped with my depression as a child, going through certain things and not fitting in. I just chose to do things. I didn't have to fit in. I can go and do this. I didn't need friends. I didn't care to have friends. And she told me that wasn't normal. Most children should want to have friends, not in a negative way, but you should want to have friends. I didn't care whether I have friends or not.
For social interaction and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I get it.
We just had to last night I just had to send an email to Timmy, the 6-year-old, to the school, because he came home and said this boy, he told us about the boy, a few months ago, but I'm like, this kids, the boy keep messing with him, whatever. Well, he said the boy came up to him and told him he was gonna kill him. I said, oh, okay, this thing got a little bit more serious. So I wrote a whole
because nowadays when kids say stuff like that, like, I believe them.
So let me also say this. I want you to share how old Timmy is.
6.
A baby.
He's 6. And so Timmy ain't no like pushover or nothing like that now. But I said, he said, he always bothers me. I said, when did it start? He said, when I started going to that school. And he's very like matter of fact. And so I wrote the email, and I had to throw in hope. I added his teacher, the other student's teacher, I researched, looked it up, went to the school, got to the website. Okay, who the principal, the behavior specialist, the school counselor. I added everybody on the email.
Good for you.
And I wrote all the stuff, and I said, as a therapist, I know firsthand the mental and emotional damage bullying can have on a child. And so I put all that in there. Girl, I tell you, I didn't got an email back from the principal. The school counselor called us this morning and spoke. They're going to get right on it because, and I guess, they called my husband. He gave me a little bit about what the resolve. They said, give him the Friday. It was, everything happened. I sent the email 10 o'clock last night and we are resolved. And I guess the boy admitted, and the boy was just like, he doesn't know why he does this. And it's not that I wanted the boy to get in trouble, but sometimes people need a little bit more help in certain areas. So if this is something that can go home to the parents to say, hey, maybe some therapy, maybe some more attention, because this is not something that you can do, right? And so his sister said, well, he also walked past Timmy and was like, oh, are you mad because I took your erasers? And so my husband was like, well, maybe he's trying to be his friend. I said, well, that's the wrong way, and he ain't got to worry about trying to be his friend. No. So, when we're talking about mental health, and I did a piece on bullying not too long ago, the lasting effects and the impacts, and it's not just kids that can have bullies. You can have adult bullies. And I know there are a lot of people that are saying, well, adults, you can't nobody bully you. Yeah, they can.
My husband tries to bully me.
Well, that don't count. Especially when you are in a position of power, right? If you're at work, you can definitely have workers or supervisors that are bullies. And bullying is not physical, right? It's not always just physical. It can be emotional manipulation. That is a form of bullying, right? Making you feel guilty, gaslighting you to make you feel like you're wrong when you're not. So there are so many different things that goes into what could be considered as bullying. And I think that when we are talking about all of the characteristics and everything that's involved, sometimes that gets left out.
Yeah.
Because I think we put that more so under the umbrella of like violence and physical assault and intimate partner violence in that realm. But even that comes under the mental health because of the way it impacts someone's ability to feel good or not so good about themselves. And so checking around for all of our viewers and listeners, how has negative interactions with others, or have you yourself experienced bullying, or are you a bully yourself, and what has been the impact on your emotional wellness?
Exactly.
For people who are I don't want to call them perpetrators, but for people who do bully others, what would you say is the underlying cause for that? Is it a need to control? Is it a need to mask their own feelings of not feeling good about themselves? What would be your professional opinion on that?
That's so multi-layered.
Before you say something, let me also say this, because Diana, to your point, when you're talking about children, and in my experience, one, I never bullied anybody. I was mean to a fault because I was not going to get bullied. I was that type of person that was so overprotective because of children. Remember I said the world is kind, but children who thought they would bully because I was short and whatnot.
And cute.
I'm only
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, short and cute. That's true. But I was I'm only 5 feet now as an adult. Go back to me being a child. I was short, so they tried me. And I was not that type to be bullied, so they went to the next person. A lot of things that happen for children when they bully, a lot of that has to do with that stuff that's going on at home. A lot of stuff goes on at home that for children, because otherwise, sometimes I used to wonder before I started going to school and working with children, why do children have a reason to be angry? Like you're at home. But when you look at some of the alcohol abuse, especially in inner cities, I would say that the population in Philly that I spent my intern after I graduated with my psychology degree that I worked with, the population the marginalized community, where parents were either not present, were alcoholics, were drug addicts, and there was no one there to foster anything positive into these children. So as a result, I was supposed to be doing my job, and I spent more time breaking up fights amongst children.
But I don't think that, okay, well, maybe, younger children, maybe that does. I don't think that's the overall reason,
Well,
especially
I'm
when
not saying
you
that's the
start thinking
overall
about
reason.
like
I'm not saying
girls.
that's the overall
Because
reason.
I remember girls just didn't like me just simply because of the way I looked, which I have
Yeah,
no
for
control
sure.
over that, the way the Lord made me.
I was talking about bullying,
I'm
specifically.
talking about trying to
Some of
bully too. And these
oh,
would
I
be
know that,
girls
but
that are pretty.
I was just sharing some of my experience in working with children because of her discussion around
About
Timmy
Timmy.
and
Okay.
things that go on. But I'm sure like where you live at, but sometimes kids crave attention and they don't receive it. And sometimes the result is a little bit different. But in my time in working with kids, a lot of stuff resonates at home. And then they go to school and they learn some shit, but there's some things that resonate at home. And there are parents who I have seen want to fight teachers for wanting to be honest about where their children are in the classroom. And that's a problem. And that leads to bigger things. Not saying that was the situation with Timmy Cortina, but I'm just sharing that, when I've worked with kids in marginalized communities, not your community, but I'm saying marginalized communities, I've seen some of the things that should never be acceptable come from parents.
So one of the things that I would say is because some people say, if people like to fight a lot, they must be bullies. Not necessarily true. So sometimes people are products of their environment. If I notice that's how people handle conflict, we square up. I'm gonna hit you before you hit me. That's very separate than like a bully, someone who is taunting someone continuously, right? So that's how you separate regular fighting conflicts, like, okay, I'm gonna fight you, I'm gonna beat you up, that's it, versus bullying. Because in order for it to fall into the bullying category, it has to be consistent. Like there has to be an identifiable person who just always gets the attention from the person who is engaging in the bullying behavior. And so the reason why, like I was saying, Diana, it's very multifaceted. Sometimes they might be seeing this behavior at home, right? They may see a mom or a dad yelling, screaming. Oh, this how we get things done. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one they did something I don't like, or I'm jealous of because of them, or they look like they're easy to pick on. So I'm just going to go pick on them. And that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes it's about trying to be able to control other people. Manipulation might be a part of that. So if I want for you to do the things that I want for you to do, so I want for you to be my minion, then I'm going to exert my control over you by intimidation, by bullying you, by picking on you so that you can do what I want for you to do. Sometimes it's about deflection. If I'm bullying you, the insecurities that I have on the inside of me, they're not going to come out because everybody's going to be scared of me now. Nobody's going to want to mess with me because I'm known as the tough one, which takes away from what I'm actually feeling on the inside: sadness, brokenness, hurt, pain, rejection, betrayal, all of these other things that I'm trying to mask by exerting my dominance over others through me being not so nice, by me bullying you and picking on you. Because if I'm picking on you, nobody's going to pick on me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are just, it's multifaceted.
Yeah. So Diana, I know you have to jump off and get to a call. So I want you to just,
I have a workshop this evening that starts at 8 p.m. prompt. So I am going to skedaddle, but I do want to say that, listen, people, put yourself first. Make your mental health a priority so that you can live your best life.
Yes.
Make yourself a priority because you deserve it. My name's Diana Richardson Philippus. Y'all know y'all can reach me at Diana Richardson Philippus across all social media platforms, or at EWE Inspires. Until next week, love you guys, and I'll see y'all.
Cheers.
All right. All right.
Bye, ladies.
So you just switched us out.
I
She
know.
was
That's how I feel
saying-
like. I feel like today. I'm like the switcheroo. You had to come late. She had to leave early. And here I am. Just like, okay, per usual.
holding us down.
I know, of course, you know what, but actually y'all hold me down because I tell you these, whoo, you know, to me, sometimes this is my outlet during the week to take a reprieve, to because we connect sometimes beforehand, like me and Diana was having discussion beforehand, and then we jump on, and then we'll sometimes all of us or me and you have discussion afterwards. I think it helps because it breaks the monotony of my day up or days. And then this is my chance to really see y'all busy ass ladies. So
Woo, tell me about it.
who never slows down for much of anything. But you have been better this year. I do notice. So you know what? I want to ask you, because you are a therapist. And I had shared earlier about how I spent the greater part of my 20s in and out of therapy offices or therapy chairs. That's what I said, you know, lying to my therapist or not being forthcoming because I felt judged, that I felt the energy wasn't there for me to really truly open up. But then when I did, I really flourished, and it was peeling back onions where I got to understand how really trauma from childhood, or and I'm talking teen years and everything, being able to admit certain things to myself helped me to where I am now. And this was in my 40s by the time this happened. I think it's important for people to understand what a real relationship looks like when you are with a therapist. And I equate it to for a woman finding a good pair of jeans. Once you find it, is like latch on, because it is just that difficult. But I was one of those, I never had an issue with letting go of therapists because I came from that environment, and I knew if it didn't fit, let me leave. But I
must have quit.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it took me a while. So I wish what I would have had hindsight on was, what is it to really look for when it comes to therapy? I can share that now, but I want you out because I left that field. I'm an advocate for therapy, but that's not a place that I want to go back to. But because you're just a different type of therapist, that's why you're called the girlfriend therapist. I want people to really understand it's Mental Health Awareness Month. What should you be looking for in a client therapist relationship that's going to have the most impact and meaning for a person's healing?
I would say what you want to first figure out is what do you want? Why are you going to therapy? What's your goal? So you can communicate that to the person who you are having consultations with. And you say you compare it to jeans. I always like to say a pair of shoes, right? So you can find like the baddest pair of shoes, right? It looks so good in the window, but when you go to put them on, they hurt. Like, oh, heck no, this don't fit. I got to take them off. And then you can find the most frumpy, ugliest isotoners. And you're like, oh, these things are ugly. But when you put them on, you're like, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? This is what
like
I
Crocs.
need. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm saying Crocs are not cute, but they are so comfortable for me when I wear socks.
I don't like to walk it. I don't know. Crocs are not comfortable for me. So that's that the Croc therapist would not be the therapist for me. So I would say, and do engage in consultations. Find a therapist, have a conversation with them, because the way that they present, why go spend some money when you don't have to, when you can have little quick consultations, and look for therapists that offer free consultations. See what their energy is like on the phone. See if there's a connection there, because that's probably going to give you the best idea of, will I be able to connect with this person? And I'm very upfront with everybody who does a consultation with me. I say, I'm not the therapist for everybody, right? Everybody's not going to like my style, and that is okay. Therapy is not for me, it is for you. So at any time I am doing something or saying something that hits you a wrong way, I want to empower you to be able to say, Cortina, I don't know if that fit. And I share it with them, and I let them know that I want for you to be you. Don't bring me the polished, perfect side of your personality. You wouldn't have to be here spending money with me. Give me I want the pieces of you. I want that side of you so that we can do the work, so that we can get you to the place where you want and need to be. What is that going to take? That's going to take vulnerability. It's going to take empathy from me. It's going to take patience. It's going to take listening and understanding and processing. What does your therapist specialize or have experience working in the areas that you need the most help in? Right? Sometimes I get people, they say, I don't even know where to start. I just feel like I need a therapist. I don't know. I've never done this. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get through it together. So we start to do a little bit of background history. And I say, what are the top 3 things you want to get out of our working together? And they tell me what those 3 things are. I say, this is how we're going to prioritize it. But therapy is flexible. So if something happens in your life, these are our working goals. However, if there's something that comes up, we're flexible enough to be able to also include this thing that has come up for you that we need to be able to work on. And I just think as a clinician, being able to be genuine, and you as someone seeking therapy or a therapist, being able to be honest with yourself about, does this feel right? Does it feel right? It doesn't have to feel good. Like, I don't have to be comfortable because you're a stranger. I'm going to be sharing my story. But do I feel like I can get what I need from this connection with this therapist who has this specialized set of skills? And like I said, don't just stop with the first one. You might have to have a few consultations and then, circle back and say, out of all the consultations I had, this one feels the most like it fit the most. And then you go with that one. Know that therapy, you're not going to leave every therapy session feeling like Skittles and rainbows and unicorns and moons and clouds, right? That's not realistic. It is our job to help you hold that stuff that you've put on the shelf, that you've stuffed all the way in the back of the closet, to help you hold that painful, hurtful stuff, the stuff that has impacted you, the stuff that causes you to be wounded. We process through it, and then we come out better than we did before we started. Is it going to be scary? Yes. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes. Will it cause you to get emotional and cry and go through a series of emotions and feelings and memories? Absolutely. However, at the end of the day, it will be worth it. So understand that therapy is a journey, and you have to journey through it. You can't skip steps. You can't skip or speed past the process, because true healing doesn't take place when we take or miss steps. We have to go through it all in order for us to get to the place where we are emotionally healthy and have processed through those things or that thing that caused us to feel like we wanted to sit in the chair in the first place. So that's my therapist.
And the other thing I would say is that, to me, and one of the things that I do, it's May, and all of my appointments take place in May. Always, that's mammograms, physicals. I try to get a lot of stuff in the month of May because I'm very cognizant about also at least scheduling a therapy appointment. Nothing has to be wrong for me to feel the need to have a conversation with my therapist that I just need to do a check-in. So if we treat our mental health as much as we do, or as well as we do our physical health, you would realize that sometimes that you're overcompensating in a different area, that you are holding on to some levels of aggression, or anger, and sometimes you really do need that outlet. So therapy to me, is vital. I remember, and I've shared about my dad having a stroke, and it was very traumatizing for him when he fell, and they gave him all kinds of therapy. They gave him physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, but what was not included was mental health therapy to address his trauma. And I made sure that he got that. So something as what seems insignificant is is
Mhm.
major,
Mhm.
depending on the person. And so I value, and which is why I'm very much an advocate for mental health, is because the end result is a level of authenticity, it's a level of peace, it's a level of personal connection with yourself and how you deal with the world around you. And also that you can hopefully gain coping skills that will help you. So even if you've never seen a therapist, Cortina talked about, it might take you a while to find one, a good one, but
Don't
that
give
good
up.
one is going to elevate your life. And, and then let me also say this, no offense to coaches. A coach is not a therapist.
Correct.
So what you are seeking in life, because certain things are not going your way, try a therapist before you try investing in a coach. Because sometimes what you need to get you over the hill of success is
Mhm.
the mental breakthrough of what's holding
Mhm.
you back from things that has happened to you in your past that is repressed.
And a good
And
coach will send you to a therapist first before they start working with you, because they will notice. They will say, "Hey, yes,
yeah, don't unpack with somebody who can address.
yes,
That's what I would say. Some unpack with somebody who knows how to not package it back in, but to deal with it, to
yes."
show you coping skills to deal with it. So again, no offense to coaches, but you have your role and you need to stay in your place, because some of y'all don't know how to. And yes, I said it because it is very true that and I'm grateful that my coach, life coach Vaughn, was, she's married to a therapist. So she already knew how to coach me through the things that I needed to, and if it was anything that was going to separate, she already knew what not to do and what to do when
Mhm.
it comes to that.
Mhm.
So it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want people to utilize this month to get you just to find a therapist.
Yep.
Check in on your strong friends this month. Don't say I never saw stuff coming because somebody has a mental breakdown. If you've not heard from somebody in a while, call them. If they're on your mind, call them.
Yep.
Life is too short,
Yes, it is.
and we are only as strong as we want to be and claim to be. But what's on the surface is not always what's seen is not always what is. That's what I will say. And I know, Cortina, you see it all the time. What's seen is
Every
not always what it
day.
is.
Every day.
Yeah. And you know what? And so before I go, I'm going to share this because me and Diana was having this conversation about relationships, because of this is a lot of stuff that's floating out there. And I've seen some very nasty comments on chats behind people's divorce and domestic violence. I was one of those that dressed my marriage up to look perfect. But on the
Mhm.
inside, it was very different of what was going on in my house. Very, very different. And so we cannot, I will say, secondary to that, it's not about status. The person that did the most damage was a military warrant officer, chief 3 warrant officer. It was, there's only go up to chief 4. And great soldier, great, you would never know.
Mhm.
In the house, extremely abusive, alcoholic. There was a lot that went on. So much so that, even when I had him arrested to protect his career, I recanted. So you can't
Mhm.
look at what's on social media and what's going on to say that things are not happening. And so, um, we have to be very cautious when it comes to, and it is tied to mental health. People think domestic violence is not. Domestic violence deals with how you deal with yourself. And so we want to be realistic about the hidden secrets of being able to openly have conversations, whether it's with a therapist, whether it's with a friend. And I do know that there is this stigma around, don't let anybody know what's going on in your relationship. Don't let nobody know what's going on in your house. Let somebody know what's going on in your house, because mentally, if you enable certain situations, it is not, it's a you thing. You have to look back and say, what is it about me that I'm accepting these things? And that's the look that I had to take a step back. So after that, after my divorce, and I took a break and I went to therapy, and I found the best therapist. We had to start really unpacking a lot of things, but I had to stop hiding. So now when I'm pissed off, I share those emotions with somebody.
Yeah.
Cortina would know. And truth is, I've called you crying. I've called and I'm just like, I feel this way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide and seek, because it's not a healthy place to be. And so what you see online is not always what it's going to be.
Absolutely.
And it's not it. You don't have to. I'm not saying go cry online, show people you. I want you to do it privately, but with a professional.
Yeah.
Or with somebody who is not going to demean a situation, that's going to force you out of a situation, and that understands that there are certain things, especially when you're dealing with domestic violence.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a whole nother ball game.
Absolutely.
A whole nother ball game where you can't just tell somebody to leave. I have had very close friends that thought that they was doing their friend a favor, only to end up at, with a gun in their face.
Mm-hmm. Cannot do
and
that.
The person that was in the house, the wife, was. So we have to be very mindful about our own mental health, about our own restrictions, and on our boundaries, not restrictions, but our boundaries around what we would have, what we choose to deal with. So I think that this month is so vital. And we need to destigmatize some of the shit that we was taught when we were younger about keeping secrets.
Yep. We're only as
secrets will have you repressing memory. Oh, child. And then you know what I also tell people? Only you allow what hurt you to haunt you, and for how long.
Mm-hmm.
But on the opposite side of that is treatment and therapy. And treatment and therapy are two different things, because sometimes treatment requires medication to get you where you need to be. But then also there's a therapeutic side, because sometimes depression gets real. And there's different ways your body, it just does different things.
And you cannot control
but
the
listen to your
imbalances or the reuptake or anything like that. None of those processes, no amount of talk therapy will be able to talk through it, right? The best form of treatment is a combination of talk therapy and medication, because it comes from both sides. The medication is going to help you be able to regulate whatever body stuff is taking place, and then it's going to level you out enough to be able to implement the tools and the skills that you learn in therapy.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, just to have that conversation, that this is a vital month for a reason, and it deserves, but don't just say this month. You might not feel up to it this month. You might feel up to it next month or the month after. You have to choose when you're ready to be healthy.
Right.
And that goes for your mental health and your physical health. But I'm hoping that you are advocating for yourself enough that your mental health is a part of that advocation. Because, we all strive to be in a place of mental awareness and mental wellness. And you need that just to be able to especially survive in this social climate that we have.
Absolutely.
Dr. Cortina Lewis, do you have any last words for us?
I don't. I would say, well, maybe I do. As we enter Mental Health Awareness Month, mind your mental. Take time to take a break. Think about where you are. Think about what you feel. Think about what your body is experiencing and how that feels, and what do I need to adjust and shift, and challenge yourself to do more, to be in connection with your real feelings and your authentic emotions. And if you need to talk to somebody, don't be afraid to reach out. This would be the perfect month to do so.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. Look, and you have the Noir Center down in Florida. Go ahead and give your plug because
I do. I have the Noir Center.
Look, are you taking new clients?
We are. It. I say we because I have me and my team. And so if not me, I have a team of amazing clinicians that would definitely be able to help you on your way and help you jumpstart your therapy journey. We are at the Noir Center. That's the Noir, Noir Center. You can find us on all social media platforms. You can also go to our website, www.thenoircenter.com. So follow us, connect with us. We would love to be able to have you. We do different talks. We are in the community. We advocate for emotional wellness, and that's just what we do. And we enjoy it. And, connect with us. We love to hear from you. We love to have you follow us and see what we post. You can never do too much for your emotional wellness.
Okay. And then is there a contact email or?
Yes.
website?
So the email would be info@thenoircenter.com. And you can also call us at 561-315-5939. And we would be happy to help and assist you in any way we can.
All right. So I'm also going to shout out one of my other favorite therapists. His name is Marcus Manning. He's a psychotherapist out of the Minneapolis area, and he owns Kind Waters Therapy. So if you are in that region and you need therapy, reach out. And he's a Black therapist and very passionate about what he does. He has an amazing team of therapists and other psychotherapists and marriage and family therapists that works for him as well. So, there's two centers that, opposite spectrums. We got Minneapolis and we have the Orlando area.
Well, actually 5 states: Florida, Georgia, Texas, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, and Tennessee pending. So we can cover a lot.
Yeah, so there is a therapist for you in one of the locations, and we will make sure and we put that in this chat, not in the chat here, but in the main chat once we are putting things out for this podcast. But we appreciate you stopping by. You know what? Next week we're going to be having some soulful sips, so you never know what. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. I definitely want to focus on mental health all month long in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to have some soulful sips next week. So you never know. Never know what kind of conversation that's going to be.
I already got a cocktail ready.
Oh, see, look at there. When it comes to mental health, and so people think mental health is just therapy, but we're going to just show you and shake it up a little bit for you all month long. So next week, like I said, we're going to have some soulful sips up here. So tune in, same time, same place. Leave a comment, subscribe. If there's a conversation that you want to have, hit us up. We are open, and you can always play it back either here on our YouTube channel, or you can play it back on our on Apple Podcasts. You can play it back on iTunes well, not iTunes because that's Apple, iHeart, Amazon, Pandora, you name it. That's where we are at. This is Season 7, y'all, and it's getting smoking hot, and we are ready to continue to give you all the little flavors of every month and every week. Cheers, you all. Have an amazing week and great. And look, be safe out there for Cinco de Mayo, please.
Yes.
And we'll see you next Wednesday. Cheers.
This is Herspiration Happy Hour.